Welcome to a Drop Tent Media production.
Today on Seriously Dad, we have JD Patrick in the house, local Philly comic, new dad. We're going to talk about the gamut of how we dealt with certain issues from co-sleeping to tantrums and the trauma that our parents put us through that has a role in what we do as parents. I think you're going to love it. Check it out.
Seriously, Dad?
Seriously Dad? Two father comedians out of Philadelphia. Seriously Dad?
Dad? Seriously?
Dad?
Seriously?
JD Patrick in the house. Seriously, Dad. Here we go.
Yeah.
What's up? Welcome.
Hey, what's up, Al? What's up, Jay?
Living it up, man. How's everything going?
Bad. It's bad.
It's bad.
Is it bad?
Looking better.
Is it bad because you're a parent, or is it just bad?
The parenting part, I mean, it's the same thing with all fatherhood. It's like, oh yeah, I love it. It's the greatest thing in my life. It's misery after misery.
That is true. Everyone's always like, "What's it like?" Oh, it's great. You're really
right.
like, "It's fine.
It's fine.
This sucks."
Well, how long have you been a parent now?
My child is 14 months old as of a few days ago.
Okay, when are you going to be done with the month? Let's keep it real. When are you going to say a year and a couple of months?
When she hits 2, it'll be 2.
Oh, so you're gonna tell someone like 22 months? You're gonna say that sentence?
I feel like so many.
You're going to say that's it with
You're
no
gonna say- you're
judgment. No judgment, JD. No judgment.
So many of the discussions are either developmentally based milestones, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
that happens at enough. It can't be like,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
'Cause you can do like a year. Like, yeah, I you do like a year and a half.
23
But,
months.
Yeah. Once the clothing sizes stop being marked by age, then we can
Okay.
just get into like
That'll never. I mean, that's. I mean, mine are still. Mine are
2T,
10 and
4T,
10 and 8, and
10.
they're
Oh,
like,
dude, that would just be so funny if they just continually marked our clothing by ours. I gotta lose some weight. I'm wearing 82-year-old fucking.
yeah, right.
These are 14s. Yeah. This
My
is prepubescence right here. Yeah.
I'm wearing the Moses clothing line. 742
I
years
think
old.
Danielle has an eating disorder. She's fitting into size 6-year-olds.
It is weird
She's in
that they
10th
do
grade.
that.
Jesus. So what's it like? What'd you think? What do you like? You're gonna have you had a kid,
Yeah.
right? You
No.
had an idea what it was gonna be.
It's
How's it shaping up?
It's pretty much what I thought it would be. So I feel like we're all roughly around the same age. As somebody who was very artistically bent and hanging out in the city a lot, there's a lot of those really annoying people that wear it as like a badge of pride, as like, I'm never having fucking kids. Which my argument with that is always, it baffles me because like, when you're 3 years old, you can't wait to be a big kid. When you're a big kid, you can't wait to be a teenager. When you're a teenager, you can't wait to be an adult. These people hit drinking age and they're like, I'm done. 40 more years of this, I don't need to fucking grow ever again.
That is very, very true. Like the pride of like, yeah, I know exactly.
I just want to be a Toys R Us kid. For the rest of my
I'm
life.
just gonna be getting drunk every Thursday
Yep.
for the rest of my life and doing that. And kids will ruin.
I don't
that.
even remember. I don't even remember what life was like before my wife at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot.
Really?
I cannot. I like that was like 14, 15 years ago at this point.
My dad's got this theory that we have kids, and part of having a kid is to challenge the parent and make the parent a better person.
100%.
Because I remember like getting drunk, sleeping in until 3 o'clock, eating pizza and cheesesteak, just being like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then when you have kids, like well, before that, I started shaping up my life, but it really is like a catalyst to for you being a better person.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not quite there yet. I'll be up front. Got a little bit of a drinking problem. Need to address it.
Okay.
Cling, cling.
This is the intervention.
That's the secret word of the day, everybody.
Everybody.
This intervention.
has,
Someone's about to walk through here and sit down.
Aw, finally, my first surprise party. But no, it's stuff I know I need to work on. Thankfully, it's not doesn't interfere with the kid's life at any point. But yeah, I looked at it. I described it to people as this feels like the first time I really like gave away part of myself to the universe.
Okay.
Where this is like, it's not about me.
Right. That's a big growth piece.
Yes.
Yeah, that's you growing.
And that's really a good thing. I mean, I love it for that aspect. But again, we're talking, like I was saying, those people like, I want to just do this forever.
Yeah.
I remember doing one of Gene Meyer's show at Century Bar and actually saying like, oh yeah, I have a kid coming because I had to make the decision of, do I want to be an adult or do I want to be one of the guys who works at these places for the rest of their fucking life? Which is a bummer, but you know the guy who's like 50 and like I got a tattoo of a hawk on my hand, citywide. but yeah, no, it's
actually an eagle, Phil. It's actually the eagle.
I'm sorry, I misidentified them. But it's a long-term investment, which is why I'm okay right now with like you got to slow things down a bit. She's the main focus. The wife is the main focus. The family's the main focus.
Family.
And this is something that applies in marriage a lot too. I can't tell you how many people I have known who don't understand the ebbs and flows of a relationship. You ever met somebody like that where like me and my wife aren't having sex every day now. Are we not in love anymore?
Yeah.
No, you're fucking married.
No, you're
That's
grown
what
up.
happens.
Yeah. This isn't friends, motherfucker. Like this is
Go
this
in the
is what
basement
it's
and jerk
like.
off.
Yeah, like
Like
the
an
rest of
adult.
us do.
Like an
Yeah.
adult.
Now, well, so 2 years ago, did you know when your girlfriend, wife at that point said, "Hey, I'm pregnant"? Was that something you guys were planning?
Yeah. So, all right. Here's an interesting take I have on this. My wife won't mind saying this. We had some very early miscarriages.
Okay.
Honestly, it was one of those things I was actually trying to convince her, like, don't take the pregnancy test right away, because we actually looked it up. It's not fully documented, but there is some whispers in the medical community of, like, an ultra receptive uterus in that, like, things catch, things bind, where it's something that was never going to be viable in the first place. Okay. So, and that was in like everybody said that every professional we saw, there's really nothing wrong with you. You might just be extra receptive. It's not like,
Yeah,
it's not like your body is
failing. It just
failing.
hasn't happened yet. Or
Exactly. It's not like things were progressing normally. Like, no, this is something that never should have attached in the first place.
So
the
JD
problem
Patrick is flexing on us right now. It's like, dude, my wife might be too fertile.
Exactly.
Actually, it's a little bit of an issue.
Dude, I brought her to Grape Room open mic for anybody who doesn't know.
She had a baby there. Sorry.
And I took her there at like 8 months, and she really wasn't going to open mics, and I literally just had to like, yeah, look how fucking virile I am, man. Look at that. I did that. But the point being, the weird aspect is when she told me she was pregnant with what would come to be our daughter, we couldn't really be excited.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because it was like,
You're on
all right,
eggshells
who knows,
waiting to
right,
see
right.
when's-
Again.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to kind of bottle that excitement.
exactly.
So, Dave, I had a question to ask you, and then I forgot what that question
steamrolled
was.
you.
Yeah.
But now, so then you finally reached a point. Now, was it all the way until birth until you finally had a sigh of relief?
It wasn't quite so, because she had those early ones, we were able to get early not intervention, but like we got like a 6-week ultrasound, which nobody gets.
Yeah.
But because we got that, you reach a certain point where, like, if you reach this point, even with any kind of infertility,
They're like checkpoints.
yeah, they say if you reach like a certain checkpoint, it's as viable as any other pregnancy.
Yeah.
And
But that is true. That is really incredibly true. It's like when I have friends and they like have a child, or they've had some miscarriages and then they're pregnant again. Even me, like, I just kind of like, all right, pump your brakes. Don't get too excited.
Right.
And it's not like a disrespect. It's not like it's just like, things happen. And sometimes.
Well, they tell you to wait till the end of the first trimester before you even tell
tell
people.
anyone. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We told my mother we were pregnant the very first time, and literally the next, I shouldn't have told that old witch fucking nothing. She went and spat on a crucifix, and Jesus said, "We'll see about that."
Jesus.
No, we didn't wait. I mean, I'll mark it down. We didn't wait. We waited to tell most people, but I think we probably did tell our parents. Relatively within the window of where you're supposed to wait. But yeah, I think that 12-week marker or whatever, that probably is a safe thing. And once you're like, oh, okay, now I'm out of that window.
Yeah.
You never can know for sure. But yeah, you're right, because we automatically assume as humans we're coming out factory ready to
Boom,
pump
let's
more
rock.
out.
We gotta, yeah.
And I think that's. I remember thinking that I just wasn't able to have kids. I was like, I haven't had a pregnancy scare. There's something wrong. Like,
I never had a pregnancy scare either.
I just really felt so. When my wife told me, I was shocked. I was like, I was so relieved, because I was like, oh my God, I didn't think my boys could swim.
Were you trying?
So we were married for 2 years at that point. So we had pulled the goalie,
Hell yeah.
but it just hadn't nothing had been happening. So I was just like, all right, well, and I was kind of grateful because I've always heard that you should wait into the relationship, have some time for you and your partner to kind of get to know life together before that.
We had never really had normalcy because me and my girl moved in with each other for the first time, as if that happened. She and I moved in with each other March 13th, 2020, and it's literally like,
Oh, like 16th was the shutdown.
we're carrying mattresses up the steps like, oh, I'm working from home next week. Me too.
Yeah.
So we never had. We're only now reaching normalcy, and we're entirely different people than we started out with. And so as a result of that, having the baby, we never really got time on our own. It's
Yeah.
It's
You
strange.
invited someone to the party right when the party got started.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's such a unique time. But that's such a unique time to come together. I think during COVID, that like it's a unique pocket where you guys really got to know each other and who you were coming to be.
Like, I have not known my wife for 5 years. We met. We actually just had our 4th anniversary of like meeting each other, and I have just done everything with this woman already.
And you got a 17-month-old.
But those COVID years were like dog years. So you've been together like 14 years.
But that's why you had a lot of relationships and actually no, a lot of people held on to like comfort relationships of like, this clearly doesn't work, but like
It's
can't really
comfortable.
date right now.
I need a +1 for that wedding, you know.
Yeah. Now here, let's get into brass tacks, brother.
Right.
What's scaring you? Because we got things, scenarios. So before we get into scenarios, what concerns you? What do you see the future as being, and what are the things that you think are going to be issues?
I worry about school. I worry about bullying. She already, very young, already seems to be a little bit on the shyer side.
I think all kids are shy though.
But she's not even 2 years old yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jesus, dude.
Well, I
She's
don't know.
fucking 13 and a half months or whatever month.
but you know,
you're
you
on.
can, so like
She's
my
49
daughter,
months
at
and 3 hours, dude. Chill out.
I will say at 18 months, we started recognizing things with my oldest, who's autistic. It was simple stuff like, you know, wasn't turning around to her name, or wasn't talking, tippy toes in front of TV. Like so you can notice things early because by 18 months we had some, but there's so many things. So, it's like one of those things that whatever you worry about, or at least in my experience, whatever I worried about sort of resolved itself.
Yeah, I remember feeling the same way. Like, she's doing this. This must mean that when she's this old, she's going to be this person. Oh, and then they just washes.
But they hit you with all those mile markers at all those meetings, so you can't help but not overanalyze everything.
Yeah, I've asked this question to like the women in my family and stuff, and it is tough because they've explained it as like you need to be on guard to like and perceive and understand, take it in, but it also doesn't mean everything. It might mean nothing. Like it might be, she might be on her tippy toes. It happened a couple of times.
Well, like dudes do this all the time, right? It's like, oh, my kid did X, Y, and Z. He's probably going to be a great blank golfer, basketball player. It's like, no. He just jumped over a wall once, and like,
it goes, and it can go both ways. You can either do it that side, or you can go down the realm of like worrying of like, oh, when my daughter didn't potty train, and all of a sudden she's 4 and 5.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So what worries about you about bullying? You think that your daughter will be bullied and won't stick up for herself? You think she'll be bullied and she'll start getting in fights and she will stick up for herself? You think she'll be bullied and she'll it'll alter her perception of the world and how what's your fear on the bullying?
It's not even so much bullying. It's a general worry of isolation and lack of socialization. I was not greatly socialized with the other kids. I grew up my dad would, well, we're going to go to my buddy's house, and it's a bunch of dudes in their 30s doing blow.
Crank, right? Yeah.
And maybe I'll go kiss one of their daughters that's my age.
Nice.
Or rather, I'll want to, but I'll be too nervous to do it. But so you go through all that, and then you get sent to kindergarten. Like, I've been arguing with these guys about like Metallica's latest album, and now I get pushed into kindergarten and have to associate with these fucking kids.
These nerd kids who don't know shit, and here you are like
Power Rangers.
Yeah, you're like, fuck that. Have you heard One by Metallica? I don't even know if that's
You seen the latest Kubrick? No.
So yeah, really like bully. Do you think you'd be concerned with bullying? All right, because we all grew up and bullying was not a thing, right? Like forms of it existed, but it wasn't a term. The term didn't exist.
Oh,
think
I
the
disagree.
term-
Wait, when
Bullying
you're my age, right?
Yeah.
You tell me when you were 10 years old, there was people were having conversations about someone being bullied
was-
at school.
They didn't get
Get the
in
fuck
depth
out.
Yes,
about
there
it,
were-
but
no,
the
no.
notion of bullies. Have you
Yeah,
ever seen
bullying.
an 80s film?
No. A bully was a
Bullying.
thing, but bullied. That term bullied.
Right.
It was
going to
just
school,
it was
he's getting
considered
bullied.
part of the growing up
yeah,
process.
or like he has a bully at school, but being bullied, that was not.
There was
really,
no movement. It was
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the beginnings of the next generation, which would then say enough's enough.
Yeah.
we can't just say
Right.
boys will be boys or whatever
Yeah.
anymore.
Right.
So do you think you'd feel that way if bullying wasn't? It's a hot button, right? It's a thing. It's a hot button.
particularly with girls? I worry about her with social media.
Oh fuck, that's
Yeah,
Pandora's.
I worry about her
that's-
with social media. I worry about bullying because I forget who somebody put it the right way of like. Back in the day, if you had bullies at school. Now they can fucking.
can-
Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
you can't just
Yeah.
skip that street walking home anymore.
Right,
that,
right. Go through
that
the alleyway,
digital
you
street
can't
is
get-
everywhere.
Somebody can pop up on your
and
phone at any
everybody's
moment
got
and
access.
Call you an ugly bitch.
Well, and
Yeah,
even
yeah.
and not even on your phone, just be putting it out there. You know,
Yeah.
it's and that's a real thing. And so at schools, it's hard because I know there's a guy I know that's a comic that comes to one of the local open mics, and he started doing a bit on his daughter being bullied, but it was too raw for him. He hadn't really processed it yet, and you could tell in the way that
It was, like,
he was
hurting
kind of
him as he was
venting. You
talking
could
about-
tell
Wow.
because that's what I told him. I said, right now what you think is your punchline
It's
is
your
exactly
therapy
what we
session.
would anticipate. So you gotta come up with something. I think you gotta process it first. And he was having a hard time because his daughter's such a sweet girl, but she's having a hard time in middle school right now. And and then what do you do with that? The school can only do so much.
Right.
It's one of those things that you gotta have a good conversation, I think, with the kid and make sure their self-esteem is at a level where they can at
See,
least.
that's what I do. Sorry to cut you off. That's what
Yeah.
I do though. First of all, my daughter, thank God, as of right now, hasn't had many issues. But I talk to her like and I hope this doesn't backfire. Like she is the queen of the universe, and we don't need any of you motherfuckers. That's how I talk to my daughter. Like if they're acting like that, I don't say fuck them, but I say fuck them. Who cares about them? And go make some other friends. They're not important. They don't mean anything. And I don't do that but I do it to let her know that her self-esteem has to be above and beyond whatever these 4, 5, 6 girls are talking about. And I hope it's the right thing. But
So this is where it gets a little tricky, though, which is how do you make sure they're not bullied while at the same time making sure you don't go
They're-
too far and they become the bully?
and they're not
'Cause
bullying.
Here's the thing. Frankly, people tried to bully me. I was always too big a kid. Like nobody
yeah.
was going to do too much. On top of that, my dad, God rest his soul, was a violent sociopath. Never hit me, but he would straight up say like the way you go to parties and like look for what girl you're going to hook up with. I'm looking for who I'm going to beat the dog shit out of that night. Like Clockwork Orange, a little bit of the ultra violence.
Rest
type
in
shit.
peace, rest in peace, big
Bob.
fella. Yeah.
So I knew if it got to a certain point, like you need to fight this kid, or my dad might murder his father.
okay.
And in that regard, yeah, I want to make sure. For one thing, I want to make sure my daughter knows jujitsu. I want her to learn
Hey, great idea.
self-defense.
Great idea.
Just like it's
Great
bad.
idea.
It's bad enough if somebody gets through emotionally, but you want to know that like she can fuck. Because seriously,
No,
with girl bullying, I've seen that before. Young girl, child bullying. That shit stops on a fucking dime when the girl just fucking rocks somebody.
Yeah. Well, no, now
Girl fights are no joke, too.
Yeah. Now, someone who
When you see a girl fight when one of them knows anything about
it's
fighting,
over quickly.
It's glorious.
Now, the three of us have done jujitsu together. Right.
Yes.
That's everyone at home. I think that's good. Not even so much for girls. Like I always fear that my daughter's going to be in maybe high school or something, and she may make a decision based on the fact that she may get harmed. Right? Like get in the car, like just a friend being like, "No, just get in the fucking car." You know what I mean? Maybe
Yeah.
that person has been drinking.
Right.
And I want her to be able to say, I'm not getting in at the car, and then not have to worry about like this person may hurt me if I don't get in the car or try to hurt me to get in the car. And it could be other things to get in the car. Like here, smoke this. I don't want to smoke that. But if you don't smoke, I'm gonna punch you. You know what I'm saying?
A lot
Like,
of that thing with that getting in the car bullshit, a lot of the problem with that is, well, then I'm going to leave without you, and then you're just left to deal. My wife's in her fucking 30s. She doesn't walk around the neighborhood at night.
No. Now we're lucky she's out in the burbs, so that wouldn't be a but yeah, I know what you mean. I think the other thing about the internet is the Instagram. The concept of beauty on the internet is skewed to all hell.
Oh yeah.
You know, with the airbrushing and the this and the that and I don't like that. because I think psychologically that really starts to put a young person's mind into like, I'm not quite enough.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've ever seen, I've seen people on the internet and then seen them off of the internet and been like, oh, you don't, the fuck is this? You don't look anything like that. But if you don't know that person and you're a young mind and you think, oh, this is real and I'm not, you know, I look like this and these people look like that, that scares me because that's when like, you know, psychologically the doubt kicks in. And
one of the only positives I have right now is we are at a time where skinny is not really in.
Yes.
That's a good thing. I don't know if that'll keep going when my daughter's not there. But yeah, growing up, particularly with like the Britney Spears and the Christina Aguilera, and you're looking at these girls like, "Hi, I'm Britney Spears," and this is her like bicep, fucking shaking around.
I was never attracted to that, by the way.
I liked some ganglies.
Oh, you like the skinny bros?
I liked a lot of ganglies.
Okay.
My taste has matured as I've gotten older, but I'm glad that's not really a thing anymore. But you can't predict what.
Well,
that's
I think the saving grace is by the time that you know the child should have that device in their hand, they should be at a level where you've had some conversations about that. So my thinking is like, you know, you can't get that cell phone until we've had a conversation about things like that. By the time that they're 11, 12, 13 and they're getting that phone, there's those seeds should be planted. They should know about sex. They should know about all of those things before they're getting
grown-ups, and
because then at least they, you know, you've started a thing where you can have a conversation with them so that they're not only asking Google.
This isn't just good parenting 101. This is parenting 101. The people who get fucked up by this are the people who get a phone. If you've been on the bus and you've seen a 2-year-old just playing with the thing,
droning
that
out.
just get thrown with the TV as people get fucked up because it's not even considered or thought about, and that can be different reasons for the parents. It can be disinterest. It can just be stress or being too busy. Like the important thing is, like, the kids don't fucking. No, I had this conversation. My daughter's at the point right now where she's like pushing things away if she doesn't want it. Okay. And a little part of me wants to be like, now we don't do that. Like, she doesn't have fucking verbal language. That is all she has. But I have seen parents freak out at their kids like, you don't do that. We don't
oh my god, like it's disrespectful that they like, push something away. Like when I give you something, and it's like, I don't fucking know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And like we're trying to be careful with my daughter right now. Like, we don't really comment on her like, oh, you have a big appetite, or making her eat something she doesn't want, because like a big part of my health stuff is that my mother was raised by depression people who said, you're going to eat every scrap on that fucking plate because we don't know if it'll be here.
It's not. And
it affects some of us more than that.
I had found an article in Prep for Today that was kind of had a lot of those same things of scenarios, and then sort of and it all came down to what you said. Most of the resolutions for those things, like temper in a grocery store, won't eat their food, it all started with, you got to stay calm. Yeah. You know, because once you elevate, they feel that, and then you put them in this flight or fight state, and now you can't. Even if you were hoping to break through, you've now put them in panic mode, and now anything you hope to convey to them is out the window as a result of that.
You a yeller? You
No. A big approach that I had. So I had custody of my nephew for a bit of time, so I actually had a bit of prep work.
Look at you getting a scrimmage in. There you go.
But one of the things I learned early on, and it's something that's so basic, but a lot of people don't have control of their emotions, is I felt the best way to do it is you need to introduce rules as like, we have these standards. If you break them, I'm not going to scream at you. I'm not mad at you, but you got to get a little punishment just because you need to.
That's how I do it.
Just so you think ahead, and that's how I want to approach it. Because I remember I got screamed at for bad report cards and shit like this, and I want to approach this with my child as like, you know, you get a bad report card, like, all right, well, look, here's the punishment. You can't go out these days a week. You can't do that. And it's not like, I'm very disappointed in you. It's like, we're doing this so you can pay better attention. That's all. It's like,
would you do timeouts? Would you do timeouts? That's one of them on there, I think, Neil.
I would feel you got to do timeouts as like a chill out as opposed to an isolation. It's not like you need to go here because you're not allowed around people. It's like, let's calm down a little bit, and then we can come back when we're in a better headspace.
Yeah, when we were kids, this struck me. But I remember being a kid and you'd be grounded, And it wasn't like, hey, you're grounded, so we're going to hang out, you and your mom or dad, or you're going to have
Yeah.
family night because you're not going to be out with your friends. It was, you're grounded, you piece of shit. Now go upstairs.
That's
Not
right.
really a piece of shit, but it was like, you're grounded, like go to solitary confinement.
Exactly.
It could be like, hey, you're grounded, so we're going to have game night and we're going to do this and this instead. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like more family time. Like,
And like I said, it doesn't mean no. It shouldn't be no fun. It should be you clearly need to put a bigger focus on these parts of your life.
yeah. Now, what are you going to do if your kid decides that school isn't for her and she's not going to get good report? Because some kids don't get. Did you get good report cards?
So here's the
You were definitely a good
I was
student.
gonna say, well, yeah, I was about to. You keep jumping on me. I wanted to finish. I wanted to keep going.
Sorry, yeah, we got to
The timeout thing I found, so like the experts, like kind of going off of what you said with the timeout can be effective, but it's often misused is what I saw. In order to use this strategy effectively, parents should make the timeout brief and used in response to specific behavior and not to give negative attention. And so I think it's kind of like what you're saying is like we don't want to isolate. We're just trying to give them a minute.
It's a reset.
To take a beat so that we can then have a conversation about that or whatever it is. Because in that moment, they're not in a position. We've all been there where, road rage, whatever, you're not ready to have a conversation about something.
Right.
So if it's used that way instead
That
of
is-
like,
that-
Kevin,
that-
go up to the basement and think about what you've done.
About, there's some good. This is like some hard. These are kind of some hard questions. It's actually interesting. I'm glad you.
And then if you click on it, it tells you what the majority of people like.
Okay. Yeah. Do you let your baby cry it out? We kind of talked about that a little bit, right?
Let her cry it out.
How about co-sleeping? I know you have a joke in your act about kind of the
Yeah.
sleeping situation and how kind of extensive that was.
She needed a little bit of close sleeping. That was more for naps. We would do it at night when it was just like it's either she sleeps in the bed with us or none of us fucking sleep. That's it.
So how was the positioning? Like
She
in the
was-
middle
she-
or on the other?
She was in between the two of us. But that was also a very, you gotta understand, the big fear with that, usually when that happens, I remember one of if anybody remembers the childhood trauma of HBO's Autopsy series. Yeah, there was a woman who had like lost.
Rolled over on her kid.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
She
It happens
lost like
often.
4 or 5 of her kids, and it turned out like, oh, she was an alcoholic, and she would roll over on them in her sleep.
Jesus.
We unfortunately talked about this when we talked about standards of practice. I think in the Norwegian countries, I can't remember which one, maybe where they
leave
had
kids outside.
outlawed co-sleeping just for the simple fact they were like, hey, you can't sleep in the bed with your kids for the pure fact that a lot of times adults will roll over on their children.
Right.
It's unfortunate.
Gosh.
I honestly, the big difference if we were co-sleeping with her, we were bringing her into bed at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't like an all night
Yeah.
thing. So it's if you've only been sleeping that long and you've been waking up, you're not getting back into deep sleep.
Yeah, totally.
On top of that, the fact that like I'm a little heavier sleeper, but my wife's a little bit of a lighter sleeper, and the lighter sleeper is more the tosser and turner. Like there wasn't really a huge danger for that. I don't think.
I know. They just
Yeah.
just-
Well, I mean, I think the reality is, it's like anything. People do what in the moment they think is best in their situation. So it's like we had the bassinet right next to the bed, but
That's a
every
good way-
once in a
that's a
while
good
for
way to
like
do it.
comfort, you pull them into the bed and you do what you got to do
But-
so you can get to sleep.
Yeah, but parents got to sleep too. Like you can't, if you lack of sleep, you'll be like a zombie. You're like
Whenever
a
the baby
different
was in
person.
the bed, I remember not being able to
a
sleep.
full
'cause
sleep,
I was
right?
just
Because you're
like-
kind of too, yeah.
So here's a fun topic to introduce. After giving birth, the first time you had sex with your wife, the first time you had sex with your wife where the baby was in the room, because you kind of have to at that. That's some weirdness that we were not prepared for.
Well,
That's not in Dr.
Here's an
Spock.
interesting point. I've never had post baby sex
right.
with my daughter's mother.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, because we
You should
we
be
weren't-
allowed one.
We weren't,
Sorry.
You get a freebie. I never had to worry about that. But
Wow.
yeah, What,
Well,
Right.
And now it's weird because like we'll be fooling around and you're waiting, wondering is one of them gonna come crashing in the bedroom?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
the middle, be like, "Daddy, I want breakfast."
And you're like, whoa, boy.
And now you have to
Daddy's
have a
eating
whole-
right
I was doing my breakfast right now. You're like,
Yeah.
Now, the very first one, the baby's in the bassinet. It's like we waited like 6 weeks, and we're trying to be very quiet, and I build up. I'm just about to climax, and all I hear is the tiniest,
God.
tiniest, achoo,
and you're like,
and just blast. Like, oh my god! I really hope those wires don't cross, because wow.
trauma number one. There we go. Enjoy the trauma, kiddo.
Right? That's that. I mean, those are.
That-
that's
I mean, that's
serious
real
trauma.
life-
That's
that's real
it.
life.
That's fucking adult. I guess this is growing up.
That's right.
When I felt like a man for the first time.
Dude, it's no joke having the kids around and trying to get back in action with that is.
Yeah, it's real life stuff. Yeah, yeah.
And it's important to do that. It's important to figure it out and to set boundaries and do whatever makes you comfortable so that you can,
Well, sex is a very important part of life.
So in nursery,
you
maybe the
can't not
nurse,
do
maybe
that.
the kid goes out and we shut the door right outside in the hallway.
Yeah, you can't avoid it.
I'm looking forward to her being a little older, just because like there's a lot of kids on our block. We live in the city, but it is the suburbs.
You live in a nice block.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a kid on the block, literally born the same exact day as her.
Oh, they're my best friends.
Yeah, so we're gonna be able to, unlike that old school. I know the big city red state people think it's like fucking hellhole junkies in every corner, and it is that too. But at the same time, like I'm gonna be able to push my kid out the door and like go play with the 30 other kids.
Now, how many block radius would you give your kid? Because I think about this. How far can your kid go, and what's comfortable to you, where danger is not a concern?
It's going to expand as it goes along. My thought now is when she's 5, there is a park a block and a half down the street. What I'm going to do is like you and whoever go down there, and I'm going to stay back, and I'm just going to watch.
Wait, when they're 5?
Damn, bro.
Damn.
No, there are a lot of kids in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
All of the neighbors really know each other, and they kind of look out for that. So
I mean, that's great. Yeah, you do live in a good. You live in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that is good. I think 5's a little young, but that's your decision.
We've just gotten to the point now where that my daughter's 7 and 9. We're letting them go, and we don't live in the city. We live outside in the suburbs, but like just getting comfortable with. We'll let them go outside in the yard without us, and it took a while.
You're probably always kind of watching, right?
Yeah, you are, but not like now. I like they'll go out, and I'm not. But like we keep the doors open in the summer, so you can hear through. We'll keep the front door and the back door open.
You get a lot of cars going.
So that's the concern.
concern
I mean, the
is
concern
cars
too is my
are-
oldest,
especially the city.
My oldest daughter. My concern was always with her not really understanding danger. I was just driving behind a car on my way here that had an autism sticker next to the license plate, and it had some things for like if a cop was pulling them over or whatever, saying, "Hey, there's a kid with autism."
Oh,
on
the lights
board.
may freak
By
out.
the way,
Yeah.
they might not. They may not understand that they're in danger. They may
Oh.
not like those kind of things where it's like for the first part we were worried, but now that my youngest daughter is 7, she's like she really watches out for her because she has all of those understandings, and so she watches out for her older sister.
I just remembered something that I wanted to bring up, and this segue is perfect. It's almost like we planned this. So
We did. Why are you ruining it?
We can knock that out. Well, like the human trafficking, all that stuff. That's a big hot topic right now, right? And I think it's a real thing in the world. And actually,
Hot topic: burn up the church.
Remember-
Child trafficking. King.
well, remember that video for Runaway Train?
Yes.
It had all that freaked me out when I was a kid. I was always afraid of being abducted.
Well,
right?
there's billboards everywhere. I see now. Actually, the hotel I was just at last week had it on the door. It was a brand new hotel,
Yeah.
and on the door where the peephole was, it had a little hotline about
for
human
you to be able to
trafficking.
get out. So let me ask you this
Wait,
question
before we get too far from Runaway Train. There was at least one person
better
in
be
that
fucking
video
good.
who confronted the singer and said, like, "Oh, I was one of the kids in that video." Yeah, dummy. I ran away because I was being fucking abused. I got
shit.
brought back because your video.
because your stupid fucking video.
So thanks a lot.
All right, that's a good take. All right, we can keep that in. So I'm going to ask you a question because this is going to definitely happen. If someone gave you the opportunity to put a chip in your child's arm, neck, calf, whatever, that could let you know their whereabouts, yay or nay, you doing it?
Here's the thing.
It's going to happen.
I would definitely consider it, but at the same time, I go into that with a little bit of cynicism. Like, yeah, you know what? They say that about your car and your laptop, and you know what happens when you call the cops about it then? Like, you can't do anything about it.
Okay, so
Probably do
you
the
doing
same
it?
thing.
Would you do it or no?
Like, call us if she ends up on Craigslist.
Well, you would open your phone and you go, "Oh, she's on."
Well,
she's
it's like
on
that. What was
14th
that
and Bainbridge.
battery commercial where like they
Yep.
had, I guess they had a necklace or whatever, and they were like tracking. I'll be honest. Like, so when Alicia was 2, we were living on this farm, 700-acre farm, and she wasn't talking yet, and she got out. She got out of the house. We had no idea where
Yeah.
she was.
Yeah, that's scary as shit.
And the amount of panic in that moment when you're just trying to be calm. My mom's going crazy, man's going crazy. You're just driving around trying to find her, and like I was like, man, I would have wished I had that
to find the calm in that. So would you do it? So we still didn't get an answer, and to find the calm in that situation, is
I would
insane.
I would do it because of having been through those situations with Alicia. Like,
I wouldn't insert a chip. I'd do something like it's in a shoe or something.
I mean, see, they can be separated
it
from
seems
that.
like too big a violation to actually just chip them.
Okay.
But, I get
People
it.
chip their dogs. I mean, people
I
chip
get
their
it.
dogs, and it's like, hey, I love my dog, and my dog.
our cat had one.
We get my dog's. I don't know what. I could definitely see myself potentially saying yes.
Yeah, it's something that evolves. Because if you asked somebody when we were kids, like, would you want your child to have a phone on them at all times so you could find them? They'd be like, "What the? First off, what spaceman technology are you bringing me?"
You're right.
And now I'm like, we could give her a phone at 6.
Well, you can chip a dog and it's in there. You can, or maybe you like chip the earrings. Now your daughter's got earrings. I mean, I'm just saying. Think about how helpless he felt. She was on the farm.
Yeah. I mean, when those things with
there's
like the
animals or
leash
maybe-
backpacks, remember seeing those?
Yeah.
Leash? I judged the hell out of them, and then I was so
And then you're
grateful
like,
for
yeah.
them because she was like spacewalking through Disney, and in a nanosecond could be gone and lost in a crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what?
So
laugh at me all you want, but I'll know where my kid is,
Right.
and I'm not going to
You
be
send your
putting out
kid
an
down
Amber
to that
Alert.
park, and Jesse says, "I'm going to watch from afar," and then you look down at
Just
your
to start.
phone, and and then you look up, and it's like, "What? Oh no, she's definitely behind the monkey. Wait, what?" And now you don't.
was
And
a
then you
kid
go,
that
"No,
looked like
oh, she's went a block over," and then you go over there, like, "Oh, we wanted to pet so and so's dog," and you know exactly where it is. Panic is done, and I mean,
I'm so far away from that right now. I'm trying to. You got to keep part of my concern here.
She's not mobile yet.
I
you got
was
72
not-
months before you have to make this decision.
I was not allowed to leave the yard till I was like 13. My mother's best friend was killed by a serial killer when she was 17.
Ooh.
So my mom
Jesus.
was
She had a lot of baggage.
Jesus,
Richard
dude.
Vagenwald, the New Jersey thrill killer. Killed her friend in Asbury Park, invited her to the car to smoke a joint, and just shot her in the head, and they found her behind a Burger King.
Damn.
But
Crazy, dude.
as a result of that, I was a little
South Jersey Tales.
That's right. Under the boardwalk. But that colors a lot of my thing because, like we talked about before, as far as like the punishment, like it shouldn't be isolation. I was very much kept like I was cloistered, but it's not like she wanted to spend time with me or pay attention to me. She just wanted to know I was safe. Like, yep, I'm safe. Not building social skills. Wanting to kill myself. What's up, Mama? Let me get some more food. It's the only thing I'm allowed to do. I won't have a lifetime weight problem. What's up?
Right.
Yeah, well, that's it. When we make a decision, you make a decision, especially when you make something for some kind of choice, like, oh, that terrible tragedy happens, but there's always an equal and opposite reaction to that. So
Yeah.
if you're going to do that, then you're not realizing all of the other situations that could arise from that situation. And that's you can't know. Like, that's where it's frustrating. It's like you know, these situations are people that we individually have to make decisions for our family, and we can't think about, oh, well, what's somebody going to think about X, Y, or Z? Whatever makes you comfortable and keeps your family safe, I guess you do what you got to do.
And we all live in different areas, right?
Yeah.
Right. Your concerns and my concerns, they're all different concerns, and we all came up differently. And I don't know. I
It's a
think
wonder
that-
any of us survived.
Yeah,
For real.
I mean, that's a big. I lose sleep over the whole human trafficking. I lose sleep.
Anything-
I get so nervous.
You at
over
least
that.
look like Liam Neeson. I am no Liam Neeson.
Yeah, you do have a certain set of skills.
I have some skills. Yeah,
My
yeah.
certain set of skills, like I'm gonna make you double over with a cum joke.
I was like,
Dude, I
And
saw-
if your pizza gets taken, you can call
I
me.
saw this thing on Instagram where now I don't know how true it was. I just know what I saw. I know what the caption said, but apparently, guy had his car on, gets out of the car, kids in the car. Someone hops in the car to steal the car. Kids in the car.
Totally happens.
A block down, the car's flipped over. Dude gets out of the car and runs. He runs down, crying his eyes out, and pulls his daughter out.
Mm-hmm.
So in like the blink of an eye, his life just went fucking where, God knows where.
Yeah.
And then he sees a tragic accident, which he's got to think, oh, now my daughter may be dead. And then he gets his daughter back. I mean, you talk about the range of emotions.
I
on
stopped
that.
in Wawa yesterday, and my daughter didn't want to get out, and I let her sit in the back of the car. And I had it. At least that moment crossed that I shut the car off, cracked the windows, kept the key with me,
Yeah.
and was like, all right, well, at least Like, but it's like scary because you have to think about it. Like, it's like she goes outside and I'm like, oh, or yesterday we were at the movie theater. She wanted to go to the bathroom by herself. So I stayed with my other daughter. She went out. I immediately looked at my phone for the time, right? I knew it was, it was 1:25. I was like, okay, she's gone out. And she comes in and she's like, Dad, I'm back in the middle of the theater.
God.
Thank you. I hope you
It's
wash
like
your
she
hands.
said-
Have a
she,
seat.
yeah, she was like, Dad, I popped up. And she's like, I'm back. And I'm like, Jesus.
Now, if you were watching a new
Everybody's trying to enjoy Barbie.
Dude, they don't talk about it enough, but since having a child, I fantasize about murder so much more often.
Yeah, you're
just
like-
anybody, but just like you're like walking around and somebody walks too close to her, and I'm just like, just knife right in the jugular.
Well, I'll take a I'll take a life. I'll take a life.
100%.
I don't know if
You
you know that.
look at her. Your life means if your existence gives her a skinned knee, I will kill you now and feel no remorse.
Very interesting.
I was at we were at Ocean City, New Jersey at the little carnival and stuff. So it was my wife, 2 girls, myself. When you're in a situation like that, where do you walk?
What do you mean?
Like I walk behind them. So I can see
Well, my kid doesn't
them,
even
and I
walk
can
yet.
see everything that's going around.
That would be
Yeah,
the
wait
way
till
I
they're
would go.
mobile. Yeah.
It's like, where do you walk? Do you hold hands? Do you lead the pack? Are you behind?
So when we're when we walk into like a parking lot or something like that, we hold hands. Because even my daughter yesterday at the movie, my younger one was like, made sure she grabbed both of our hands before we went out. But like when we're walking around the neighborhood, like the other day, my daughter was riding her bike, so she was obviously ahead of me or whatever.
Yeah.
But you just you have to have like an awareness. I always want to be able to see there, so it's okay if they're like in front of me. but-
I like being behind.
You
'cause
went
can see.
airline traffic controller kind of shit. You
well,
were just like, flock up, everybody. Flock.
I had good practice because I take kids abroad for the last 12 years. I've taken
yeah.
students to other countries. And so at some point I was taking like 36 kids. Now for every 6 you get a chaperone. So like every chaperone had 6 kids that if we had to go somewhere, get on a bus,
You
had
got
to go
your
to your
6.
groups. Do you have your 6? Thumbs up. I look for the 6 adults with their thumbs up, and then we go. Or when we're walking through the streets of Rome, I was the caboose. So like what I would do is I would go to the back, and then I would like go all the way back up to the front, counting them as I got to the front,
then you fall back
and then I
again.
would fall back again.
Yeah.
And then whenever there was a turn, I would stop at the turn, and that's when I would allow them to
I was
go
a camp
back.
counselor. The same thing. I had 8. I was in charge of 8. But you start to like kind of learn how
Yeah.
to like navigate your herding
Like, make a
technique.
protocol, yeah.
You understand like if I stand here and they all stand to the right of me, I can count them as they all go. And if there's a car, you just kind of learn those things. But that's why I stand in the back so I can see everything. I'm kind of tall so I can see over a crowd. And if there's something I don't like, turn.
We had a kid get lost in the Vatican City the one time. Like we walked by.
Worst places to get lost. Oh my gosh.
They're on a high alert. This fucking cannonball
So,
run.
like,
There's a treasure loose.
funny enough, he actually found a family that was from our area that happened to be like in there. It was so random.
Wow.
So like we had, and before we leave though, when we have the meetings with the kids, we have we do what if scenarios. What if the subway door shuts and you don't get on? What if everybody got on and you didn't get on?
I want to run what ifs with my kid.
And that, you know what I mean? Like, so that gave us all peace of mind. Now with cell phones and Google Maps, it takes that out of the equation.
Right.
But when I started 12 years ago,
If those
It was
kids
a
were
different
chipped,
world.
if those kids were chipped and you had your phone, you don't.
No,
exactly
here's the
what
problem.
motherfucker
So
was.
you're hitting on something that I was even talking to an adult. I've talked about a tenant that I had to get out of here. A grown child. He's a 23-year-old child. And this is what I'm talking about. Yeah, sure. Technology will help you. But as someone who's hiked and been out in the wilderness like 100 miles out where you're like, shit could go wrong. There is something to be said about if you're a parent and have the ability and privilege to just teach your kids critical thinking skills, they'll move around technology. You'll figure technology out. It doesn't matter. They go into what are my necessities right now? What is my safety? How do I conduct myself? Like that kind of stuff. I think that's huge.
yeah, like if
I
the
think that's
power
big.
goes out, like everybody should know how to
Pots
keep
of
themselves
water.
going.
Yeah, pots
and
of
how to
water.
do some stuff. Like there should be some moments where you think about that. Like, oh, the power goes out.
What are we doing?
What are we doing? How do we
We
react?
talked about it
and
with
those kind of
Gaspar, and I
things.
think we all need to kind of, all parents need to be all the things that they already are, and also on top of that, Eagle Scouts.
Yeah, natural disaster is another one. You're out playing with your friends. The sky's purple, and you think you hear a train coming. What do you do? Right?
Right? Yeah, I think those are all the kind of things that we as parents have to talk about. Which is
I
kinda
remember the
important.
important scenario Mario, our uncle taught us down the shore. What do you do if you're swimming and you see all the water pull out suddenly?
Get out and run. Get out and run.
He said, so what you do, that means the tidal wave is coming. So what you do is you sit down on the beach, you put your head between your legs, and you kiss your ass goodbye because you don't have a fucking chance. Fuck yeah, cool.
It's like when I live near Limerick power plant. I was like, oh, if that alarm goes off,
Don't do anything.
I'm just going to hug that bad boy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we're gonna leave a funky shadow on the wall, man.
Yeah, we're hugging. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you just gotta.
Some things you can't defeat.
There's not. Yeah,
Mother Nature's undefeated, so you see a tidal wave coming.
I think that's the best thing. The takeaway of that is like we're all gonna have things that you could do and you can second guess yourself, but in the moment you got to trust that you're doing what's best for you in that moment.
I'm 100% more scared of other people. I want to run like. All right, first off, if somebody says, don't tell somebody or I'll kill your daddy, they are not killing your daddy. I am killing them so much quicker, and you'll fucking watch.
Yeah, you want to kill somebody in the name of family.
I wish.
He's like, he wants the
He got it from his dad. He got it from his dad, and it just came right down to him. And
violence is the ultimate love.
yeah, I see that. I see that.
JD Patrick.
That should be violence is the ultimate love. Is that going to be the name of this episode?
Actually, I do like that. That made me get a T-shirt that says that.
I'm sure there's some like hardcore band that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, for the emo kid that I knew we were, that would be perfect.
So you got anything? You got anything coming up? What do you want to plug, man? What's going on in your world?
When's this coming up?
Next week.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
this will be after Wissahickon though.
Mm-hmm. But we'll have dates in other months.
So you just be like, I killed it at the Wissahickon Brewery.
Yeah, killed it. Did great. Well, check out KYGY2K on YouTube. We discuss nostalgia for millennials. I burped a little bit there. Nostalgia for millennials. We have a new episode coming out on Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
We just had a great episode on the Three Ninjas franchise.
Yeah.
And we're recording next week a very fun one. We did one where I didn't know much about the source subject, and he didn't know much about the source subject. So I never really got into Indiana Jones, so we're covering all that. Did. And my friend never really got into the WWE Attitude Era, like the Stone Cold, The Rock, like Mick Foley.
Like this stuff?
Exactly. That. So I get to show him all that shit for the first time, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay.
That's really cool.
And other than that, follow me at JD Patrick Comedy on everything, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Threads. I think I'm on Parler still. Is Parler still a thing?
I don't think so.
Has that been closed down and the source code dragged to the... It was only to fuck with people.
What? I don't even know what Parler is.
Parler's the right-wing one. It's the right-wing one. So he's going on to troll the right because it's fun or something. Whatever.
Is that the one Trump owns? Is that what that was?
Yeah. Like, that's
it's
the
one of them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Can't let anybody have an echo chamber. I've been yelling about this Jason Aldean small town shit. Oh, yeah, I'm from a small town. Small towns suck.
They're tough places to live.
I'd like to see you try that in a small town. Yeah, try to get educated and not get molested by your dad.
Jeez.
We look the other way in a small town.
Small town.
JD Patrick, maybe.
That won't even be a topic by the time this comes out. It's just been this week.
Yeah, it'll be gone.
So much fun. Albert, what do you got coming up?
Yeah, what's up with you?
What do I have coming up? Oh, I got I'll be at Miss Silly's Blues down there in South Jersey next Friday. I'll be back at Church of Satire in August, somewhere in the middle of August. Friend of the show, Jim Bryan. That's all I got off the top of my... There's other stuff I can't really remember. Of course. I'm not going to pull my calendar out.
Oh, good. Yeah, we got you can follow him at Albert Davis _4th. And then, Jay, what do you got coming up?
I'm going to be on a Midwest kick. I'll be in Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and Kansas.
All the small towns. Jason Aldean.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. So check it out. jyodercomedy.com. I'm going to have a good time.
Spectacular.
Seriously, Dad. Peace.
Seriously, Dad.
Seriously, Dad.
Thank you for listening to the Dads, for once. Give these daddies a break. And maybe follow, subscribe, like, and comment to the Dads on Instagram and YouTube at Seriously Dad Pod. Rate and review Seriously Dad Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Seriously, Dad.
How you doing? This is Neil Wood from the Cult of Us podcast, speaking on behalf of Drop 10 Media Network, the network you're currently listening to. Make sure to check out all the other podcasts on the network. You can go to drop10.com to check them all out. Make sure to like, subscribe on everything that you see Drop 10 on. We appreciate it. Go to drop10.com now.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.